22nd, 1944. My darling Charlie, the General should be hand-delivering this letter to you, which may seem somewhat strange. Once you read my letter and the contents of the letter that accompanies it, however, I hope you will understand the need for such precautions. My darling, I have quite a confession to make to you, and I hope with all my heart that you will receive it in the same magnanimous way you received my news concerning Captain Fairbanks. What I have done was done first unknowingly, then out of necessity, because the safety of the person involved was in jeopardy. I'll start with the good news. Remember when we first met at the Rangers' 4th of July dance? Well, I wasn't entirely honest with you about why I was at Camp Forest that night. You see, I wasn't there as my father's personal secretary. I was actually there at the request of a man I'd only met once, who went by the code name Lionheart. Do you remember how I told you my father, sister, and I spent a Christmas in London a few years before the war? Well, that's where it all started. While we were there, the General received a rather mysterious visitor. He came in the night, and I happened to meet him for only a brief moment as I led him to my father's study. I'd had enough contact with the sort of men who came to see the General late at night to know what this man was. But he wasn't just a spy, Charlie. He was a spy who had been deep undercover in the heart of Germany for almost 20 years. My father and his visitor talked in his office for over 3 hours. When the man finally left, I asked the General who he was. In a state of awestruck wonder I'd never seen from my father before, he simply shook his head and said it was Lionheart. When I asked him who Lionheart was, he said that until that night, he was nothing more than hushed-up myth and whispered legend among espionage circles. The General didn't speak of Lionheart again after that, until about 6 months before you and I met. That's when I began receiving coded messages to my father's direct line at the OSS office. The messages came addressed to someone named Red Rose. When I passed this information on to my father, he said the messages were from Lionheart, and from then on, no one was to even know of their existence except the General and myself. When they'd met in London that Christmas, my father had told Lionheart to use the code name Red Rose as a signal whenever he wanted to send a message to my father. Then he told me I was Red Rose, and he designated me as the only person at the OSS below himself with clearance to receive and decode Lionheart's messages. I took all of Lionheart's wired messages from then on, which included countless pieces of vital information concerning the Nazis, Hitler, their movements, and other vital information that has been crucial to the war effort. Sometimes Lionheart would ask me to do favors for him. They were all harmless requests, and with the General's permission, I did them. The last favor Lionheart asked of me was what brought me to Camp Forest last 4th of July. I was heading down to Tennessee to check on a lead he'd given us anyway, so he asked if I wouldn't mind taking a small detour to Tullahoma to check up on the son of an old friend. All he asked was for me to let him know if the soldier failed to treat me well when I arrived. This was a puzzling request, but how could I refuse? Especially after all Lionheart had done for Uncle Sam. So I went. When I walked into the Ranger dance last summer, I had no intention of staying. I was simply there to check up on a soldier, and then I planned to take the next available train back to D.C. But then I met you, my darling. You asked me to dance. I talked with you, and before I knew it, I was falling in love with you, Charlie Burke. What I didn't know at the time was that you, the soldier Lionheart had asked me to check up on, were much more to him than simply the son of an old friend. It wasn't until I spent Christmas at your mother's house that I discovered Lionheart's true identity. Your mother put me up in your old bedroom, and it only took one look at your father's picture on your nightstand to know why Lionheart had sent me to Tullahoma. I could hardly believe my eyes, Charlie. Not so much because I was looking at the man who'd visited my father in London that Christmas, but because I hadn't made the connection sooner. You're Lionheart's son in every appearance, right down to your impressive broad shoulders and that darling dent in your chin. The only difference is the shade and shape of your eyes. You get those from your mother. I've wanted to tell you that your father is alive ever since, but your mother begged me not to. The general also made it very clear how much danger Lionheart would be in if I did. Now, however, with what you're about to face or have already faced with the invasion, I knew I had to give you every reason I possibly could to come home to me. And that's what brings me to the bad news of my letter. The general received information a few weeks ago that Lionheart was taken captive by the Germans. One of his wires to the OSS was intercepted by Nazi intelligence. As soon as he realized his 20-year cover was blown, your father ran. He made it almost to the coast of France before he was captured. Last the general heard, Lionheart was being held prisoner in the French village of Isigny-sur-Mer. I can't possibly imagine what you must be feeling or thinking right now. Knowing I knew this and kept it from you has weighed heavy on my conscience since Christmas. But my darling, I swear to you it was not only at the most urgent pleadings of your mother, but also out of the most genuine concern for your father's safety that I kept it from you. The price he has paid for our country, the price you and Grace have had to pay, is above and beyond the call of duty. The intelligence he has passed on to us, the information that sent me to New Mexico, has almost certainly saved not just our country, but possibly the world, in more ways than the world is presently capable of understanding. Perhaps his own words will make his reasons more clear to you than I ever could, which is why, upon hearing of Lionheart's capture, I wrote to your mother begging her to break her 24 years' silence. The letter accompanying this is the reason your mother got so upset when you opened your father's old army trunk all those years ago. You see, the trunk contained this letter. Your father wrote it for you and asked her to deliver it to you if he never came home. He wanted you to know who he really was if he didn't get the chance to show you himself. Your mother got so upset that day because she knew the very existence of that letter put his life in more danger than it was already in. The only way she could protect him was to keep the contents of it secret until, heaven forbid, it was no longer necessary. Will you forgive me, my Charlie? You must feel robbed right now. Robbed of 24 years that you could have known your father. Depending on what the Germans have decided to do with him since his capture, you might still never know him. I can only imagine the confusion that must be overwhelming you. I have prayed every day since learning your father still lives that you would someday get the chance to meet and know him. You truly are the best man I've ever known, Charles Henderson Burke. I so wanted him to be able to come home when the war was over and see that for himself. Perhaps, God willing, he still may. I love you more than life, my Charlie. You are my heart, my soul, my whole world, forever and always. Please forgive me and come home safely to me, darling. Come home and build our beautiful house. Come home and build a life and family with me. I don't want a happily ever after if you're not in it. All the love that is in me and a kiss. Audrey Rose.